What's up, guys, and welcome to Rauta's AMA. This is probably the first real AMA, also known as Ask Me Anything video, because this time we actually reply to questions, or at least one big question when it was presented to me or us in the Vatine video, the infamous one. Now, before we get into the very question, which is gonna be a long one because it's gonna be a story, I will just do a little bit of giveaway here. Once again, we are, or I am, I want to, kind of reward one of the active commentators. This one, so I picked one of the most active ones here, Guillaume Rock, or however your name is spelled, pronounced, sorry. Feel free to pick one of these fine CDs here as a reward. What we have here is Damnation Defaced, Melodic Death Metal, Cradlefield's latest, Cryptoriana, which is yet again nice addition to their gothic vampire metal of sorts, and Rienaus Saatanalle, a Finnish black metal sophomore album by this quite nice black metal band. So you decide what album you want. All of those are already reviewed here, so if you need my opinion / guidance regarding which one you should pick up, feel free to check out the reviews, and if not, you can pretty much Google it up, listen to it on Spotify or YouTube or whatever. So congrats to the winner, and we'll continue carrying on this one as long as we have CDs. These are all the stuff at the moment I have as giveaways, but who knows what I can go diplomatic about in the future. Now, the story in Vatine video was this, and I need to kind of tell the whole story behind it. The question was to us, Rauta, who are you guys? It might be seen as a philosophical question. I don't know, maybe it was just a kind of a sarcastic one, or maybe just out of curiosity, what is this all about? And I want to explain. This actually is a good one because it also made me want to explain to you guys, dear fans, viewers, haters, and all that, what we are, or who I am, and what are we doing. And I think this question was asked because I told on the Vatine comments that, or video, I'm not sure, that part of methodology website is not a very big media. It's actually considered as a small website by Vatine's Eric himself, and it's also by numbers, they backed it up. So that's already taken care of, no reason to go back to that. But to the very question, who are we? I think that kind of needs some explanation, and because of that, it's gonna be a long story. I'm gonna take a little bit of whiskey here, one of my favorites. I'm gonna pour myself a little bit of that here because this one is gonna be a long story. 3 or 4 minutes in already, and I haven't even said a word about that. So here it goes. So basically, me, Jerry, being my first name, I was born in Finland, 1975, and it was something like until 1981, 82 maybe, when I remember hearing my very first metal song and metal band. That was, by the way, Iron Maiden. About the band or the album, I have no idea. I was, simply put, way too young to remember all that stuff. I'm not actually sure if it was the first one, but that's the first one I can remember for sure. And there was this girl, probably a year or two older than me, living in the nearest building. It was a bunch of row houses, and for a reason, she had Iron Maiden on a tape. You know, those C tapes way before CDs became popular thing. So I think she had an older brother who was into more heavier music. I remember this guy being one of the bad boys, you know, drinking beer, as you know, like underage, and you know, smoking cigarette and having this weird feeling. We were just kids. I don't know, but through her, I think I got Iron Maiden, and it was heavy. It was weird. I didn't know what to think of it at first, but anyway, that was the first step. Then a few years later, for some reason I don't even know how, but I guess I'm the kind of typical kid of the 80s because I basically grew up with bands like Metal Crew, Wasp, Twisted Sister, and some other names which I am not so sure about yet. Those three I remember very well. I even remember Europe, and Bon Jovi and stuff, but those lightweighters came in later on. Kiss was, I think, one of the earliest ones as well. And I think, but I'm not totally sure, the real reason why me and a bunch of other kids got this into this kind of music was not because I had an older brother or sister, because I don't. I never had. So it was not like they were here to influence me, nor any of my, you know, friends. Actually, they were not metal, or who is into metal that much seriously when you're like 8 or 10 years old. I don't know, but there was some stuff on Finnish television. There was kind of like this music program, which wasn't set for rock and roll music, let alone metal music. But there was this kind of a, you know, music videos which were played every now and then, and they had also kind of a heavy metal special. So they had, you know, they aired these videos of Wasp, Twisted Sister, Mötley Crüe, and others of that era. Like I said, I don't remember half of the names anymore. Kiss, I can totally say was the fourth one. But anyway, those were kind of the bands that basically worked as a Kickstarter of sorts. Now, I was not that much into Kiss, like never. They had cool badass videos, lots of kissing, you know, makeup and heavy riffing, but I don't know, never felt like it was my band. Mötley Crüe, definitely, that I totally like, but I think since the very beginning, Wasp and Twisted Sister, they were my favorites. They were like rebellious. You know, if you remember the early Twisted Sister videos from early 1980s, they were like, you know, badass. They were so rebellious. They were also funny, hilarious, and they were kind of like not grim, but you know, they were like hardcore in a way. Not the genre, but you know what I mean. And Wasp, on the other hand, I remember this, you know, part where, you know, like Chris Holmes was playing in a live, you know, guitar, and you know, wow, did what he did, rewind, take it again, rewind. You know, this guy showed a middle finger. Oh your God, what? How can he do this? How is he so badass? And there were skulls. There were, you know, these circular saw blades on, you know, Blackie Lawless sleeves. Woo, that was so hard. And little did we know, we didn't know that this was just, you know, heavy metal, shock rock, hard rock, all that stuff. We didn't have any clue about bands like Venom, Bathory, or Celtic Frost, or any of those early black metal bands. Not even, you know, early death metal bands. Well, maybe they didn't even exist back in the days, but you know, we didn't know about thrash metal. We didn't know about Slayer. God damn it, we didn't even know about Metallica, even though that was a kind of like a prominent name at the time. No, anyway. So that was how my early 80s got spent, learning about very basics of metal music and all that stuff. Then something happened when I was, you know, my early teenage phase. I kind of abandoned metal for a couple of years. I spent on, like many kids in my age, through all kinds of music which just happened to, um, in your hands, through a friend on a tape, you would, copy. So we kind of listen to lots of crap like pop or dance music. I never liked dancing, but anyway, that's how we got, listen to the music. There's no denying that. I wish I could say that, yeah, I've been 36 years into metal and all that stuff, continuously, non-stop. Sorry for that, but no, that's not how it works. So for a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3, I kind of left metal. Not that I was seriously, who is in the metal seriously when you're like 12? I don't know. And then rap music came in for a brief second. Not just, any kind of hip hop. I was into this gangster stuff, NWA, Ice Cube, Ice T, that kind of bands. I don't remember most of them anyway, because that was kind of a phase. Lasted for a year maybe. I think I was in the 8th grade in the elementary school and stuff. So, those were the phases where I just like, I had totally slide off, from metal music, and I was just, kind of like exploring things, exploring music. And at the time, even though I listened to a lot of music with my, C-tape player, kind of like Sony Walkman type of stuff, which were very common in that days. And we didn't have a CD player at my home anyway. So I listened to a lot of that kind of music and exploring things. Then suddenly, when I was something like 14, 15 maybe, I don't know, I kind of, sorry, I kind of found metal music again. This time it was like bands like Suicidal Tendencies, Metallica, and what other names? Maybe Megadeth. Never were into that myself, but these kind of bands, like these late 80s, early 90s stuff, which were going. Lots of my good friends, they were into grunge music, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, all that stuff, which then again mostly didn't appeal to me. I was at the phase that I wanted, heavier, I wanted badder, I wanted faster. So then came bands like Pantera and what others, I'm not sure. When it was 1993 when I moved to a different city, and I turned 18 almost the same day as I moved there. It was my first own apartment, kind of like a, this student apartment or sorts. Then I actually, as a kind of 18th birthday gift or something like that, I got this money from my dad, who had been saving this money, I think, for my driving license or something like that, or that was what was supposed to do with the money. But I didn't like crap it. I'm just gonna go buy a CD player. So I have this kind of like mini hi-fi system. I know, not high end or anything like that. I couldn't afford it. I was basically penniless. But that's what I used my money for, and I started to buy CDs, because all I had was a handful or two of tapes, some trading tapes, but I never got that too much into that. Really, I didn't even know guys who would do that, and there were no Zine information. I didn't know any of these Zines or anything like that. So anyway, I got this CD player and I started buying my own CDs. I remember having Faith No More's Angel Dust as my first CD, even before I got the CD player. Curious enough, I kind of figured out that tapes were, like so last season, and if I wanted to have a tape, with, even though I have CD, I could always copy my own CDs on a tape. At the time, it seemed smart, and years later, it seemed even smarter. I basically never even listened to the tapes when I got my hands on CDs. But the year 1993 was a game changer. Not only I had this CD player, but I also, started to get more CDs. Where like every month when I would get my like this student loan cut and some other money, I would just buy CDs after I get them food and stuff. So I got to meet new guys in this new city I was living in. As suddenly I found that there are many metalheads, even though it was a small city, about 7,000 people only. But there was a sort of small scene in the city. And these guys, they were about the same level of heaviness in the music as I was. They were not death metal guys, they were not black metal guys, but they were like, somewhere between of going extreme metal and then again, kind of pop metal. They were clearly, more into the stuff than just, listening to mainstream names such as Metallica or Megadeth or Iron Maiden or, any of the big names. So suddenly I started, because I was spending my time at the local record store, which was, by the way, basically run but not owned by one metalhead. A couple of years older than me, but really nice guy. We really got along very soon. So he would, basically suggest to me all kinds of CDs that they had coming. They were actually quite a big shelf of all kinds of metal CDs. And, I'm not talking about mainstream names here, but, the early, like, Norwegian black metals, like Enslaved or Dark Throne, Burzum, and, all kind of stuff. And which then again were very interesting ones to me. I was fascinated by them because they had these ups and crosses and all that stuff. And I had already established a kind of not ideology, but kind of philosophy in my life that I had totally abandoned, Christianity, and I had already deemed all religions weak and poor already when I was like, I don't know, 15 maybe. So to me it was clear that these guys were doing interesting music because inverted crosses and me having this mindset. But I wasn't ready for them musically because I had lots of problems basically liking those screaming vocals, which in a minute you will see when there's the irony. So I ended up basically getting not just, like this basic metal, thrash metal, of course, and groove, I don't know, melodic metal, all kind of stuff, Sepultura and all that stuff. And also I was trying, diving into death metal slowly because, and if you remember Headbangers Ball on MTV, this show had lots of cool bands, videos and stuff because that was way before YouTube. And there was this load of these videos which I kind of, like got into and, find cool bands. I remember, for example, Cannibal Corpse, Staring Through the Eyes of Death. I didn't like that much, but I remember the name of the band because it probably was the first Cannibal Corpse song I ever heard. I also remember like Ball Throwers, Fourth Crusade, which were like me. Wow, I like this band. Because a few years earlier, maybe like 3 years or so, when we were playing miniature games, and one of my friends who was really into these miniature games, and he still is, by the way, have gotten Ball Throwers' second album, Realm of Chaos, and there was just the same cover that it was used in these miniature games. So we kind of feel like obligated, like listening to that kind of music, but it was way too brutal for us. Remember when I was talking about these grunge guys? Yes, he was one of them, and so we weren't set up for this kind of music, because we wanted to, we were used to more easygoing music. For example, I remember liking Alice Cooper when I was 7th grade. And so this kind of music was way too heavy when we were like 15, but suddenly 18, 3 years, lots of changes. So this was also the time when I started going to, my first real metal gigs. I remember, for example, an event called Metal in 94, which means Metal 94. And there were like these death metal bands, Finnish bands like Disgrace and some Swedish band, or also early Amorphis, back in the days when they were playing death metal. And yes, the Swedish name band was Centinex. Yet another old school Swedish death metal band, and yeah, Disgrace. What else? Cannot actually remember, but I get the idea. So when I was living in this different city from 93 to 95, I had established a huge bump in my kind of a metal knowledge. I had acquired quite a few CDs, some tape. Obviously, I had seen too many gigs. I've been to many gigs, not only in the city of Loimaa, the 7,000 people's small town, and in Turku, in my hometown, but also in Helsinki. Like went to see like bands like Machine Head when they were playing in Helsinki, and bands like no, my brain is failing me. Also, like Impel Nazarene, Sentenced, these bands which were still kind of small but growing up, and that phase like between 93 and 95 changed a lot. It became it brought death metal and black metal to my knowledge. Bands like Bathory, Dissection, and Dark Throne, which were soon to become one of my favorites. That changed a lot. I started going deeper into this kind of extreme metal, death metal and black metal especially, but I didn't, abandon my thrash metal path, so to speak. So bands like Suicidal Tendencies and all that stuff, they were still there. They still are with me. And also, 1994 is the kind of hallmark year for me in the sense of, or milestone rather, that it was the year when I actually joined my very first band. We had a band called Ciric, Ciric, it was named, curiously enough, after a role-playing game's God of Death. So we played death metal. We played actually Paradise Lost's Eternal as a cover, and Slayer's Mandatory Suicide. Because I didn't know to play any of the instruments, but I was always to be this kind of vocal guy, verbal guy, and being loud mouthing. So I ended up in a vocalist. Pretty traditional story, I guess. You don't know what to play, but you talk a lot. Go with the mic. Okay, sure. That's how it goes. Well, we didn't even record a demo, which I think was a bad mistake in hindsight, but that's what we did. So we actually did a few songs. I remember writing my very first lyrics, not only with that band, but also another band from this guitar player who was with me with the band, and later on would play with me in a black metal band. So that's what we did in 1994, but the band kind of split up, and in 1995, some of us totally just, when school was over, we just moved to a different city. I moved back to Turku, which was my hometown, and where I'm still residing after so many years. So things started to, kind of go forward in increasing pace. So once I had established this kind of basic knowledge of, death metal, black metal, thrash metal, heavy metal, all kind of stuff in just, a few years basically, and those 2 years being very, very important in learning these kind of basic stuff. So then I kind of ended up meeting different people. We were regular bar goers, and even though there was no basically metal bar in Turku, there was still places where people with the like-minded were to hang out, to drink beer. Oh, you have a long hair and leather jacket. Yeah, we might have something to discuss. And that's how it goes. The scene starts to form, or you become one of the scene eventually when you just talk enough, long enough to the guys who have been there before you. So in 1996, in a kind of in some party, housewarming party, I guess, there was this guy. I had this Dark Funeral t-shirt, which I had bought probably a couple of months earlier, because it was one of those recent findings to me. 1996 was one of those times when I actually got deeper into black metal, and I kind of got to know people who liked that kind of music, who were into that kind of ideology, who knew more about that stuff than I did. And when I started, just kind of like blind shopping some of those, CDs. Upside down crosses. Is this metal, Mr. Clerk? Yes, it is. Okay, I'll buy this one. That kind of stuff. So I had this Dark Funeral t-shirt from the debut album on me, and one of these guys, dark hair, beard. He just asked me, "Are you into this kind of music?" "Yeah, I am." "So blah blah blah. Have you played in a band? Blah blah blah." Something like that. And I'm like, "Yeah, I've played in a couple of bands." There was actually one that I didn't mention because they didn't play metal, but anyway, there was some kind of weird crossover shit in 1995 or so. Maybe even no, it must have been 1996 prior to this one. Anyway, so this kind of guy called Pete introduced himself, and he's a bass player in a band called Nightside, which had just formed in like early 1996. This was something like fall, and he was basically recruiting members, I guess. So we ended up chatting. I ended up going into the band, doing some kind of screams in there. I had never done it before, like I said, been only death metal and stuff before. But I think we had this chemistry going on, things clicking. Me and the drummer, especially, I think, and also the guitar player back then, and the guitar player and the drummer and the bass player. I think they were all the founders of the band. The bass player soon quit, and I think we just had to get a new bass player and then another guitar player, and suddenly I reached to my old friends, one of them being my earlier bandmates, and suddenly we're like 5 of us, and things went smooth. So back then I was like really serious about black metal. I am today, still to this day, but I have always been the clown of my class, so to speak. I always joke about this and that, and even though I take things seriously, I just tend to mock everything, because it's not like anything is sacred to me. Cheers to that, by the way. So then that was the band called Nightside, and in 1997 we went to Tico Tico Studios in Kemi, northern Finland. The very same where, for example, bands like Impel Nazarene had been, recording their CDs. So it was like kind of like a cult studio to go to. Very high performance, but we were too less experienced to actually to go to a place like that, because we couldn't basically benefit out of the professionalism and the sound and all that stuff. So we ended up doing a pretty decent demo, but I was totally unsatisfied with my vocals. I remember being like not in a bad mood, but just in disappointment. Other guys were like, "Yeah, this is pretty okay." And yeah, it still has good sound, but the vocals, they're not good. But then again, that was a very important learning lesson for me. Always demo your material, do rehearsal tapes, listen to your voice, you're playing, whatever instrument you have, you're going on, and you might figure out what is wrong. Don't do it at the studio and learn it the hard way, which I did. But nevertheless, mistake was already done and all that stuff. So about a year later, 1998, we recorded a full-length album, and to this day it has been the only album which was released by the band. And in 1999, I think that's, or was it 1999 when we recorded it? I'm not totally sure. Anyway, that's when I got contact in 1998 or 1999. I got contact with Northern Heritage, and which kind of set up for us like a recording deal of sorts with 7-inch EP, and then later on a full-length album through Sound Riot Records in Portugal, which were, by the way, rip-offs. Anyway, so then we had this like 3 years going on, and black metal bands and all that stuff. Then I founded my other band because I wanted to play more primitive, this time on guitar and also on vocalist. That's when I created Annihilatus, which is active to this day, though it was active in like 13 years or so. Anyway, the point is, I kind of got from a band to a band to a band, and later on I abandoned Nightside because it was like basically, it wasn't progressing. The thing is, you might now ask, so okay, you are talking about your bands and your, history, but what the hell it has to do with you doing these kind of review videos, opinion videos, interviews, and all that stuff? So, a couple of years in playing in a in a new band, also, I started writing kind of album descriptions to a Finnish online shop. That was something like 2000, 2001. I'm not sure, but around that time maybe. There was this guy who basically needed some help describing the albums he was selling, so he would just rip me MP3 files, which were, by the way, were a new thing at the time, and I would just basically listen to them through and listen to this music. And as a reward, I would get to keep those MP3 files, and he would get those descriptions for his online shop. So we had this kind of like symbiosis or work deal. Anyway, 2002, a site called imperiumi.net was founded. It was founded on the ashes of or ruins of a Finnish kind of underground metal magazine called Suomi Finland Perkele, or SFP magazine. And meanwhile, SFP had a huge impact in like Finnish metal scene at the time, because it was basically the only real kind of commercial, magazine, not just like some heroes copied, black white design, but one with colors and like real editorial and staff and stuff. So that kind of got in a way. There was, by the way, some really famous Finnish people doing that SFP, people who are now like music full-time professionals, either doing festivals or who have been doing a pop rock magazine since then, or PR people, all that kind of stuff. I wasn't part of SFP, but I remember reading it a lot, and I remember giving like some bad kind of feedback to the one having this underground column page or whatever with reviews and stuff, because one of the guys who is actually a Finnish black metal musician was keeping that, and working for a metal label, record label anyway. So I started, giving him feedback like, your reviews suck, man, you should do more, you cannot just write like, this is a band blah 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 with album name blah blah blah. I don't know why they're selling this kind of CD to me, because their logo is stupid and all that stuff. 2 out of 5. I mean, that's not a review. So I basically wrote a feedback and hey, you're totally right, I should do better, blah blah blah. So when imperiumi.net was like founded in 2002 as a website on the ruins of this SFP magazine, I just basically somebody I think gave me a hint, hey, why should you write to these guys, because you've been doing this kind of stuff. So I basically did a little bit of writing, like, who am I, what I'm doing, here's some samples of my writing skills and work I have done. And I was recruited right away. No paycheck stuff, kind of stuff, it was volunteer work. And 15 years later, I'm still doing that very stuff. By now I have reviewed more than 4,000, well, not that many albums exactly, that's counting all demos as well, but I've written almost 4,500 or something like that articles, because also something like around 2003 I ended up writing in Inferno magazine, Finnish one, because a couple of friends were like doing stuff there. So I ended up writing in that as well. But Imperiumi was also always my main focus, like in Inferno I had written like a few hundred reviews. But for Imperiumi, more than 4,000 articles, including gig reviews, festival reviews, some interviews, beer reviews, more than 1,000 demo reviews and all kind of stuff. So I kind of ended up writing a lot, and then I kind of ended up quitting band stuff that had nothing to do with actually writing, being this music journalist or metal journalist, but more on the very fact that you kind of didn't have the chemistry going on in the band, and songwriting wasn't what it's supposed to do, so we call it quit. Well, not so much quitting, but like putting it on hold. So there it was, like some 13 years. But anyway, during those years I just basically ended up writing a lot, going to a lot of festivals, both in Finland and outside, and just writing a lot of stuff. And so, some 2 years ago, already when I had, had my own website, Inquisitionist, in like 2002, 2003, did some very few writings on Imhotep, uh, this Zine, then Inferno and Imperium and all that stuff. Like a couple of years ago, we had some people I know through my day job, who are more into film editing and filming as well. And we had this joke that maybe people from Imperium, having these contacts and lots of stuff there, we could just put our heads together and figure out what we could do as a video material. So for the first year we did a little bit of video recording. We did these interviews basically in English, but when it was in Finnish bands, we did in Finnish and so forth, and all the prologue stuff, and that was in Finnish. So we did this with people who are doing like day job, time, filming and editing this kind of stuff. But we did that on their like Finnish TV channel called Moon TV. And these people, like three of them, were just helpful in creating this kind of material which we could use. But then we didn't find that many bands, and we didn't actually have a good plan, so it all kind of fell into hiatus of sorts, and we figured out what we were gonna do. And so this year, 2017, we decided that okay, let's do it in English. We use the same kind of the basic idea. We go interviewing bands in festivals or gigs, and we also expand doing reviews and maybe throw in a opinion video of sorts and kind of stuff. And now we have been experimenting with that stuff for like 5 months or so, and so far we've done over 150 videos, of which only a handful is unfortunately interviews, because we don't get to do them each week. There are logistics reasons which I can explain later time if needed be, and also because they're not always interesting gigs which are so fulfilling that we can just basically organize our normal life and day job to meet with these schedules and so forth. For example, I really wanted to do a Solstafir interview last Monday, but the band never bothered to reply to the agents which were actually setting up the gig in Finland, which started their tour. So that didn't happen. But these are the realities what we have to deal with, and it's totally okay. Anyway, I could have basically long story short. So more than 15 years in the making with written reviews and all that stuff, and now my second year doing video material for you people. For me this is a new way to reach out to people and tell how I feel about music, what kind of albums I like, what is wrong and what is good in metal music. Because in Imperium and all that stuff, it's all Finnish, and it's for Finnish audience only basically. Sorry for that. And here I try to hone my English skills, as well as talk you about music, which I so much love and which I have spent more than 20 years of my whole life trying to figure out which are the best albums, which bands I should check, which bands I want to see live, and which kind of ideas and ideologies go through in these brains of people, in metal music, be it death metal, black metal, heavy metal, thrash metal, groove metal, power metal, speed metal, doom metal, all kinds of metal. Doesn't matter, I'm just interested, I'm curious, I still want to learn, I'm 42 now, doesn't matter, doesn't, keep me stop me doing what I want, because metal is what I want, and metal I will be keeping composing, I will keep writing about, I will be talking about, and it's up to you, my dearest audience, whether you like it or not. And I guess this is the end of the story so far. So I hope this helps you understand who we are, the three invisible people behind me, doing a little bit of editing with these interviews, not so much my home reviews and whatnot, and people who are more on the producing side, tossing me ideas, challenging my ideas, commenting my stories, doing these fancy graphics you get to see as like preview pictures and all that stuff. So it's not me alone here, even though I'm always the voice and the annoying guy here on the front of the camera. But this is what Rauta is made of, at least currently, November 16th or so, 2017. Who knows where future will take us. Hopefully we will get to see more cool gigs and festivals, interview more interesting bands for your viewing and listening pleasure, and I hope to get more interesting bands, to release their albums, review them, and always looking for some interesting events in the world of metal music. And actually, as these, there are plenty of interesting topics I want to discuss, or at least explain from my point of view on these videos. So keep on looking, keep on following if you are interested in this kind of stuff. I know this was way too long for most of you, doesn't matter. I hope you enjoyed. If there's any of you who actually watched the whole thing or listened to me speaking to myself. But that's the story. So should you have other questions, I'm more than happy to reply and get back to you with whatever you have in mind. Remember, this is Ask Me Anything, so no stones should be left unturned. Keep them coming. I will reply, and hopefully I will reply them in a more time-saving manner. This is all from me. I'm Cherry. I wish you a good day, night, or whatever. Where are you going? What are you doing? And as always, stay metal, stay true.